Most creators or marketers, they don't realize what they're sitting on. If you make videos, podcasts, or even long form content, you're probably squeezing out maybe 1 or 2 assets from each piece. But the truth is, one video can turn into an entire visual system if you know how to extract the right elements from it. So in this session, I'm going to take a single input, a video transcript, a podcast clip, whatever, and we are going to turn that into 5 premium visual assets live. And a Nulling image, an exploded view, a Mandela, a data object infographic, and an isometric diagram. These visuals could become thumbnails, carousels, lesson slides, product explainers, pitch deck graphics, social content, literally anything. But they're very specific frameworks. By the end of the session, you'll see how to turn every piece of content you make into a full visual toolkit that you could use across the board. We are jumping into Alphana, and in Alphana, we're going to be able to take that video and we're going to turn them into visual assets. Now, there's a couple things you can do in here. You can turn videos into clips, into social posts, into tips and lessons, into blog posts, and these are where you manage all of the different projects and videos that you've uploaded to be able to generate a wealth of more content. You see, we're going to focus today on just generating a few visual assets. So the first step that we want to do to be able to generate this content is we want to use a source video, a podcast, or a YouTube link. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on create in order to open up our project window. When I do that, at the bottom, you're going to see something that says add YouTube or upload. Now, when I click on this, we open up this overlay that allows you to choose the source content that you want us to analyze for you. So for example, we can drop in a YouTube link. We could upload a video and we can connect to like Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, or just drag your video file in here. Or I could reuse content from my own library. Or if you just had like a blog post or a piece of text that you want to turn into visuals too, you could just type that in here by clicking on text. So this is great for interviews, webinars, podcasts, any sessions that you have, even Zoom meetings. If you want to take those recordings and drop it in here, you could do that. So I just went ahead and clicked on reuse from my library because I've already uploaded a video and I want to reuse that one again to generate more pieces of content from it. And so the one that I'm going to cover is from a video that I recently watched, and it was called the $106 million Launch Playbook, Pre-Frame, Proof, and Packaging for Founders. This was an interesting episode. I thought I'd be able to use this. It's an hour and 18 minutes long. Let's go ahead and analyze that and create content from it. So I went ahead and I clicked create. And what that does is it loads the video right down here where it says knowledge so that I can use that as my source content. Now, what I'm going to do, because I want to generate these visual assets, we created a brand new template. And if you stay towards the end, I'll let you know how you can get it. So I'm going to go pull it because what I did for now is I saved it into my own library. And we may rename it, but right now it's called Visual Frameworks. And it's going to create a series of different types of images and the frameworks that could be used to be able to generate content from. So I'm going to select this one and click next. Now, once you upload a project and you select a template, it's going to take you through the personalization process. This is where you can guide the AI to be able to write content or create content the way that you want it to be. So for now, I'm going to leave my tone conversational because I'm not really focused on writing content. 6th grade reading level, that's fine. My target audience, let's put creators. And for language, I'm going to select English. Okay. Now remember, all these are text boxes. You can edit this and put whatever it is you want, right? If you want to put a couple bullet points that explain your tone or a couple bullet points that explain your target audience, you can do that by just typing inside of this text box right here. But I'm going to keep it as creators for now. Now, in the additional instructions, this is where you can guide the AI to use your brand color or put in like words to avoid, any do's and don'ts, or any custom notes that you want to give it or context before it generates content for you. So for now, I'm going to leave it blank, but you can put like your primary color, you could put hex codes inside of there and anything else that you feel might be relevant. For now, I'm just going to show you what it looks like raw. And by the way, all of these instructions, you could also save it just once inside of your custom instructions. So you don't have to do it every time. You could always leave it blank and skip it. But for now, you saw what I did. All right. Now, the next screen that you see that I just popped up over here is to be able to edit the transcript before I generate the content. This is very particular if you know that the AI typically misspells a name, a word, or perhaps you want to update the speaker names. Like if you've got 3 speakers in the video, you don't want it to just be labeled speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3. You can come in here and you can edit those speaker names. I don't need to right now, so I'm going to skip it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit no and then hit generate. Now, once I hit generate, this will take me over to the project page. So what you're going to see here is on the left sidebar, we're now generating a series of different images all in one shot. Okay. Now it's really important what's happening here, right? Because again, we could do different workflows for different things. And in this particular workflow, I'm generating a series of image assets, but again, you can mix text, you can cut clips and generate images at the same time. But right now we're focusing on very specific frameworks because I think that these have specific names that might be very interesting for you to be able to use and throughout your content strategy. Now, what's happening? This might take maybe a minute or two, right? Because what are we doing? Under the hood, we're analyzing the entire video. It's an hour and 18 minutes long, and we want to understand it just like how humans do, to the best of our ability, right? Once we understand everything about the video, we are going to come up with ideas to create each one of these types of images. So for example, the Nulling image, okay? We're going to come up with an idea for what a Nulling image should be and what ideas and concepts we're going to integrate into there. And so if you don't know what a Nulling image is, it's an organized overhead like layout top view of meaningful objects that make up the message that you're trying to convey, right? And so with this Nulling image, we're actually going to generate 4 unique concepts and prompts that might have different objects in them. And so first we got to analyze, then we draft those prompts, then we start generating the images. And we have to do that for each one of these, right? And so that's what's happening under the hood. We are right now drafting all the prompts, we're analyzing the video, and we're generating the images for each one of these concepts. Go ahead, drop in the chat, drop in the comments. Have you ever heard of any one of these by itself? Have you heard of what a Nulling image is? Have you heard of what an exploding view, isometric? I'd love to hear it. Okay, look at this. We've got images, y'all. Let's start with the first one. So again, what's a Nulling image, right? Nulling image is pretty much an organized overhead layout of meaningful objects that all tie back to a concept or what you're trying to explain, okay? And so you could see it kind of does like this top down view, right? And there's different styles and different ways. This is the example that comes up with this one. Now I'm going to zoom into the Nulling image, right? And you can see it's laying out different objects on the board, but these are all tied to concepts or lessons that were talked about inside of this video. Okay. And now this video was about the Alex Hormozi launch when he did his $100 million book model launch. And inside of that launch, they talked about how they never said the word buy, right? Everybody was actually donating. So if they were trying to get you to buy, they were actually getting you to donate books to people who needed them. And so that's why you have this concept of donation. WAFM, which was write a frickin' memo. That's what that stands for. They talked about in the video. They talked about the different countries. So you can see that here, the outline. So you can see like all the little objects, right? They did a live stream. So you see like the 3 cameras here, the microphone, you've got the 72-hour clock because they did everything in 72 hours. So you can see how it's extracting some of these insights and putting it into a cool visual that can be leveraged. And again, you could use these for like presentations. You can use these for blog header images, for social media posts. There's so many use cases for using these types of images. All right, here's another version of it, right? It did a different layout. It's got the laptop screen. Look, the timer. If I go to another one, look, it's talking about hooks, packaging, the dog whistle avatar, why, what, how, now. This was a concept that was discussed in the video. The repurpose ladder, they talked about repurposing. I mean, they might as well have called out Alphana inside of their video because you can do all of this inside of Alphana. Repurpose your video into tweets, quotes, carousels, LinkedIn, shorts, long videos. All this is super important, right? I mean, that's super important because this helped their launch. It's like, why, if they're going to do a launch and they're going to promote their content, if they're going to tweet one place, they need to repurpose that into 50 other mediums, right? And so this is what we call a Nulling image, okay? And it represents a lot of the objects. And you could see here, we write very detailed prompts to show you what we're talking about here, right? Like for example, design a Nulling image that represents sellout, launch math, and objection takedown, and captures the overall mood and tone of strategic intensity, confidence, and precision. The scene is an overhead flat lay composition on a simple, clean background that hints on a planning table, at a planning table. So it goes into very much detail of how to produce this particular image. And what's great is that we give this to you, right? You get this inside of Alphana so that you can learn, number one, how to construct a prompt to create these types of visuals, right? So this is a great learning mechanism. But also if you wanted to recreate this but make some tweaks to it, you could copy this prompt and then go ahead and add that into Alphana by generating a new card, clicking on AI images, and you could just paste that right here and make those edits that you want. So that is a Nulling image. The next diagram program, the next visual framework that we have is what we call an exploding view image. Now, what's great about this is that this could look really different for different types of content. Right? Now, in this case, an exploding view is almost like a cinematic teardown of like a core idea, a system, or like a tool, right? So if I was going to do an exploding view image of, let's say, a car, you would see all of the parts that make up a vehicle, right? A car or whatever it is, right? And it would look really cool. You see it with cameras with all the little pieces on it. But in this case, it's not trying to do it really on an object, although it's using objects. It's doing an exploding view of the concept or the framework or ideas talked about in the video, which makes it pretty cool to be able to use, right? And so in this case, let's see, it's design a exploding view image that breaks down the donation framed book launch engine into its key physical components, clearly showing how each part relates to the whole. So this was an interesting one, right? So again, they did a live stream for 72 hours that generated over $106 million, right? And so here you've got the global live stream at the top, the attention flywheel, you got the donation framed book launch engine. So here it is in the middle. And it's for, you know, the object is a book. It says book launch. Great. You've got the last minute ping emitter, the proof core, simple named offer, brand halo. And so it tried to use different objects to make up to give it this like cool exploding concept, right? The next one, here's another one. Something they talked about in the video was why, what, how, now. And they kind of break that down into many objects. So the why, the what, and now. So this is pretty cool, right? Let's see, clearly showing, I wonder what this is explaining here. And it's got names for everything, like the authority frame projector, right? It's a compact projector broadcasting the words, report the truth with proof, right? And that was a core concept that they talked about in the video as well. So this is pretty cool. You can kind of see what that looks like. Here's another concept that you could choose from, right? So look at that. You've got the waiting room player, the calendar hook, the reminder drip capsules, last minute nudge. I mean, look how intricate this is, right? This is pretty cool. Now, the one thing to realize, right? If you're looking at this and you're like, well, this is pretty cool, but it doesn't match my brand style, or I don't like the look of how it looks, right? That's okay, right? I don't expect the first draft may be perfect for each person because everybody has their own brand. This is why you want to edit the prompts, and you also want to edit your custom instructions. So you can insert and mention, oh, these are my brand colors, this is my style. That way we can get the images to come out to your particular style. Right now, they're made in a way where they're more generic in terms of their styles, right? And they always come up with different outputs. You might see different colors, but if you tell our AI, you tell Alphana exactly what your colors are, it'll try to incorporate that into the images so that they reflect better to what you have. So the other way that I would say is when you click on edit, there's a feature we have called reference images, okay? And you can upload up to 16 images in here. Now, most of the time you don't need all 16 unless you want to find 16 individual objects and say place all 16 objects into the image, right? But you could upload 1 or 2 images as for style. Be like, look, these are my brand colors. This is the style of the images that I want. Or if you have an exact template of like, here's my exact template, upload that in here. And in here you would say, please use the reference image in its exact form, but tailor the content based on this video. Like, I'm just giving you an example of how you could tailor the prompts, because again, to create the exploding view, it's not just a one-liner prompt. We didn't just say, hey, create an exploding view image, right? We actually go very much in detail, and the models do better when you can provide it more detail into what you want. And so most likely if the images, like what you see here, aren't producing what it is that you're looking for, all you got to do is click edit. And if you read the prompt, you'll know exactly why it did that. Right? It goes through bullet by bullet exactly all the instructions that we provided it in order to analyze the video, come up with the ideas, and generate this type of image. This is a very long prompt, okay? And we do this on purpose, and this is one of the value points that you would see once you jump in here. But the key aspect here is that, again, you're not letting your videos, your podcasts, your webinars die. You're allowing it, you're using it to amplify the content, to come up with more pieces of content that you can use. Again, whether it's for social media posts, whether you're going to put that into your email newsletter, whether you're going to drop that into the blog, right? Or on LinkedIn. There's so many use cases for it. From this video, which has so many different scenes, it's just an interview, 2 people talking. We were able to generate, look, right now we've got 8 different images that we've generated from this video. Okay, and we still got 3 more concepts or types of cards to go through. Next up, the isometric diagram image. This one's like a 3D-like scene showing how a system or a workflow or an ecosystem works, okay? Again, these are all pulling in from ideas or concepts from the video. So right here, I've got this one. If I click on the image, you're gonna see what it looks like, right? Now, look at this, right? Isometric diagram image kind of tries to, in this case, it's representing the donation framed mega launch engine as a clear structured isometric scene built from the realistic objects and spaces. And so it's using an isometric camera angle so that all the elements appear consistent, 3D-like perspective on a subtle base plan or grid. So you can now get an idea of what we're trying to create here, right? And again, inside of the video, they talk about all the different elements they use for the launch. And so I'm not going in any particular order, but in the center, you've got the global audience time zone terrace. Okay, great. Because they wanted something that would work in every time zone. They've got their content studio for the production, the thank you page after you register for the webinar. You've got the time, look, reason, relevance, and invitation, last minute reminder risk. This is where they kind of notify people at the last minute. They have an offer. They have a Zoom rating room, an invitation, kiosk. I mean, look at all these different elements, right? And this kind of makes up that entire live stream that generated over $100 million. Second up, what do we got? Next image. Here's another one. Again, this one is now an isometric diagram image that represents the reason, relevance, invitation, nurture loop from the opt-in to attendance as a clear structured isometric scene built from the realistic objects and spaces. Beautiful. So here we go, right? It's got the opt-ins over here. It feeds into it, call booking lounge, testimonial wall. But look at the visuals. I mean, just the way that it's creating all these objects, it's either going to give you something that you can use right away, or it's going to give you ideas for concepts for what you do want to create, right? And sometimes we don't even know the potential of the content that we record or that we create or that we put out, whether it's on YouTube or anywhere else. And this helps to kind of frame it logically in a different way. Right? So here's that example. Here's another one. This is talking about packaging and validation content factory. Again, it's another isometric view of a diagram that helps to be able to represent this. And let's see, last but not least, boom, here is another one. This is talking about the conversion stage. Now look at this, right? It puts together a nice stage with the red right here, the screen, and you can see how everything flows into each other. And the audience sitting right here in the corner. There you have it. This is the isometric diagram image. Again, stay to the end. I'll make sure you know how you can leverage these, get these prompts, figure out how to do these images on your own. That's isometric diagram. All right, next up, what can we turn our video into? So a data object infographic image. All right, let's pull out the data. Let's lay them out with objects and visualize that into a simple infographic manner, right? So the way I think about this is that we're trying to take data, progress, comparisons, and make them into visuals, right? And so if I click on one of these, look at this, right? Really clean, 106 million raised in 72 hours without saying the word buy. Now, I don't know if you guys watched the launch. How many of you are familiar with Alex Hormozi? Okay, he went ahead and did his book launch in 72 hours live stream, sold $106 million of books, and not once in that entire live stream did he tell you to buy his book. Okay, that's what he was selling, his book. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, he turned it into a donation. He gave away the book for free to people who showed up to the live stream. They can buy it, they can get it for free individually. But he got companies to pay $5,000 as a donation to buy 100, 200 different books so that they can give those books away to everybody else who doesn't have a book. And he leveraged it and called it a donation. And so that's what this is showing, right? But he also added a lot of freebies and a lot of good things on top of it that made it really valuable. So if you spend a couple grand with him, you got a lot more benefit than just buying the books, right? Now, what's cool about this is that this could have been, again, like I said, blog post or anything like that, but this could work as a YouTube thumbnail as well, right? So if your video is all about this, you could have a YouTube thumbnail framed like this, which would work out pretty well. The next one are 16 internal memos refined the offer versus most people write 0. This is key, right? Because one of the concepts he talked about in the video is that he creates these memos. Anytime that they want to structure a concept, they write a memo right inside the company that lays out their thought process in a better way. And in order to get to this final offer that they did that led to a $100 million launch, they actually wrote 16 memos of the offers that they're thinking through in the last couple months until they got to the one that led to this launch. right? And that's what this image is representing. All right, what do we got? Pre-framing lifts, show up rates. Look at this visual. Again, we're showing you, we got the opt-in page, thank you, waiting, and reminders. I mean, look at this, right? If you were to do this from scratch or even to come up with this idea, like I probably wouldn't think about this, right? Until we're able to put together a system that can do this for you. And that's what's really important here, right? We create a variety of these different types of images so that you could figure out the ones that you prefer the most, so that systematically you can add this into a template inside of Alphana, so that going forward, every time you create a piece of content, you can have it generate one of these types of images or these frameworks. And I'm only showing you 5, but we've got over 50 different types of images that could be generated inside of Alphana with different templates, different structures, different frameworks. All right. So if you look at this one, this is the last one of this one, make failure unreasonable, right? 10,000 leads to get 100 webinar attendees versus a typical plan of 400 leads. This is super important, and this is probably some advice I can share with you all that I got from as a takeaway from this video, right? In the end, what you want to figure out, if you're trying to get somebody to show up to your live stream, if you want somebody to show up to your webinar, or if you're going to have a party and you want them to show up to it, you need to be you need to make sure that failure is unreasonable, right? So if you think you need 100 people to show up, right? Or if you need to get 100 sales or make $100, right? How many people do you want to make sure that you reach to guarantee to make sure that 100 is impossible to not reach, right? Make it impossible. And some people were like, well, maybe if I get 400 leads and 25% of them show up, I'll get 100 webinar attendees. But that's not unreasonable. That doesn't guarantee it, right? Who knows? What if you have a really bad day and now only 10 people show up? So if it's not 400 people, is it 1,000 people? Well, that's not unreasonable enough. And so what he's saying here is that if you wanted to get 100 people to show up, make sure you collected in your lead form 10,000 leads. That way you are guaranteed that you'll have at least 100 people show up to your event, your show, whatever it is that you're trying to do, right? The actual hopes of this is that you don't get 100. Maybe you do get 1,000 or 5,000 people show up, and that's all upside for you. But in life, we always do things that might be too comfortable. And so instead of doing things that are too comfortable, right, look at something that would make it unreasonable. So if I want to build a $100 million business, right, into this company, I need to reverse engineer a plan that can generate $10 billion just to guarantee that I'm going to reach 100 million, because we have to have that moonshot goal in order to get to what we do. And these are things that I think about as well. So take that as a lesson. But look at how we could take a video or any piece of content, reframe it, repurpose it, and turn them into different types of visuals. And again, you can add your brand colors, add style references, and these visuals could look even more towards what your brand looks like. Wow, this is so funny. Last but not least, we call this the object circle Mandela image. All right. Now I've got 2 versions, but that's because one of them, well, I'll show you both, but they both do the same thing. I must have added this twice. Now, what this is doing, right, with the Mandela image, it's like a thematic, symbolic interpretation using a circular symmetry, okay? And you can see that. They will always put together the objects and the concepts that will create a circle, right? Look at these 4, and if I look at these 4, you could see they always form this shape on a table, right? And this is a cool concept. So I'll show you a couple examples of what this looks like. And so here you go. Everything is framed around the thank you page, and it shows you all of the elements in a circular format that leads to this. Here's another one. Looks like it uses a little bit more like cardstock objects version, like cutouts, but you can see what this looks like. All right, here's another one. This is talking about the who, what, why, how concept that they were discussed in the video. You got the workbook, the drawings, the sketches, the clock, all these different elements. Look at this one. This one looks pretty nice as well. It's got different objects you can use, like the camera, the microphone, the lights. Look, the invitation, not purchase. You got the book here. Design an object circle Mandela image that represents one-to-many launch mastery donation framed marathon live stream as a symmetrical circle of meaningful objects. Use an overhead flat lay position on a simple uncluttered background to clearly reveal the circular pattern. Place a central focus element that symbolizes the main idea at the exact center of the frame. A ribbon-tied stack of books with a small card reading, invitation, not purchase. Okay, let me take a breather there. Just understand what I just read out loud. Number one, after analyzing the video, our system automatically generated this prompt for you. Okay, so everybody will have a different prompt when you get in here because we tailor it to every video and every experience. But look how detailed just this opening paragraph was and how it followed it to the T, right? It said to place a central focus element. It's a ribbon-tied stack of books with a small card reading invitation, not purchase. And it goes into more detail. But every element that you see in here is on this image on purpose because it's written and very detailed, orchestrated by our platform to be able to do this for you. Okay. And that's super important because imagine the amount of time it would take you to do this. And even if you wanted to swap out a couple of these elements, you can now edit this prompt, make the swaps, and then regenerate the content for yourself. And so this is the object circle Mandela image. And again, I'll show you just a couple more since we already generated it. You can see what that looks like. Look at this, the donation, you got the little jar, all these little concepts. Look here, talks about validation. This is repurposing, right? Packaging versus validation. And then the why, what, who, why, what, how, now concept, right? Beautiful. That covers the gist of it. This is how we turned a video into a series of images, using very specific frameworks to create these visual assets. Again, we could create photos, you could do almost any kind of image, but these are very specific to creating certain types of frameworks that I wanted to make sure you guys got access to. And I'm going to show you just so you could see what it looks like on a different video. I think sometimes that's helpful when you can see what it looks like. This is all about the StarCloud's H100 launch. They launched to be able to run AI in space. That's what this video is about. It's a shorter video. I had created speaker notes on it, but you could see what the Mandela image looks like. Again, it gives you the circular pattern, but the concept is different. So it's pulling in like the satellite images, the solar panels, and different objects that make them up. So it's always cool to see a different perspective of what it looks like on a different video. Here's another one that's kind of showing you like the NVIDIA chips, the satellite, what it looks like. It's kind of explosion view of what these things would look like. And here we go. Like, look at this, right? There's an exploded view of StarCloud 40 megawatt orbital data center module. So essentially the Starship Bay class into its key physical components, clearly showing each part and how it relates to the whole. So if you ever wanted to understand how these satellites work and you wanted to create an explosion view, it works. And so what's cool is that this works for objects like real life things like servers and phones and satellites, right? But like I showed you earlier, it also worked on concepts and frameworks and ideas and marketing tactics, right? And so that way you get an idea what that looks like there. And then this is an example of the isometric diagram image. Tell me if the chat if you like this version or not. We had done two styles. The style that I showed you before was like using more real objects. And this one was doing more like animated or like two-tone color style. I don't know how to describe that. Like 3D like, I would say, where it can take the objects. And so you could see how this style is the same card. Majority of the prompt is the same, except the style is a little bit different. The other one was using real objects, and this one is using more of a 3D like perspective, right? And you can see what that looks like. But I mean, again, look at how intricate the visuals are and generated in here. So this is what I would do, right? I can come in here and rename it. I'm going to take out the image old, and I'm actually going to put the word 3D in here. Okay. And why not? Why not use this one? What I could do is also deploy this one, and I'm going to I'm going to go ahead and publish it. Why not? So you got the 3D or animated, I would say. How do we get access to these cards? All right. Now, all of these, if you want to be able to use these cards, once you're inside of Alphana, you could come in here and you're going to have two ways to do it. One, I'm going to publish the other template that I showed you. So if I come back over here, this template that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know it has a sixth one, but I'm going to delete the duplicate. So now it'll allow you to generate all 5 at once if you want to. Now, mind you, this will consume credits. So I recommend picking the ones that you want and generating them, or you could look at the templates and see the ones that you want. But we're also releasing them as cards. So now you can jump into Alphana. I've already launched this. This is how you can access to it. You're going to go to add card. And you can now search. Remember, this is our whole card library. These are all individual pieces of content that you can create inside of Alphana and add to any project. And so I'm going to type in here, Nulling. Look at that. I got the Nulling image, and all you got to do is select that one to generate the Nulling image card. We also have the object circle Mandela Here we go. And then look at this data object infographic image. It's here. And then exploding view image. That's also available. So now you've got all these cards inside. And then I think the last one was isometric, if I'm not mistaken. Boom. Okay. So now we've got the isometric diagram image. This is the more real objects, realistic version of it. And then the one that I just showed you, which is the 3D version, which is like the 3D color animated type in case you want to use something like that as well. But yeah, I do prefer this one more. It looks more realistic. This is the look and feel of it, right? Which is why we did it. So we test a lot of prompts so that you don't have to. Oftentimes I have a project with 30 or 40 different cards and I only end up with 5. Right? And that's because we do a lot of testing, a lot of prompt engineering, a lot of tests to figure out, all right, which ones are going to get us the best outputs with the right styles. And so we've done all this testing. And again, I do 30, 40 different tries until I get to the outputs that you see here. Because again, using Alphana should help you to save time, save money, and help you to amplify and repurpose a lot more content than what you're doing today. And in the end, we want to make sure that you are seeing the value on it. You're getting the word out there, you're building your audience, you're making more money, you're growing your business. And that's what's most important. All right, look, if you've made it this far, please, if you enjoyed what you've seen so far, please on YouTube, I want you to go there, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want you to hit the notification bell so you always get notified anytime we go live. And not only that, but hit like and drop a comment. The algorithm loves it, especially those few indicators. It helps us out a ton. We want to be able to reach more people, get the word out there. So I'd really appreciate it. We are going to take this. We're going to this recording. We might make a couple quick edits just to clean up, and we're going to publish it on our YouTube channel. Because of the holidays, we're a little behind. So I expect last week's and this week's video to be up by early next week. Try to get it out sooner for y'all so you guys can have the replay. Can we create thumbnails? Yes. Are you talking about like YouTube thumbnails for your videos? I'm going to pull up a video. I'll come here. I'm going to go ahead and hit add card, and I'm going to type here YouTube thumbnails as an example. And we got different variations. So you've got the Studio Ghibli style. You could do multi-style, cyberpunk. We have different versions, right? The one that I want to try is going to be, let's say, this one. So in here, we got design a YouTube thumbnail style based on the video transcript. Now, if you have your own image, okay, of a style of how you like your YouTube thumbnails to come out, you could drop that in here so that it can influence a style. But for now, I'm just going to do it without it. And again, you can edit the prompt, read it, digest it to understand, and then make your tweaks. If there's like, hey, I always want my title to be in the top left corner, or the text hook to always have X amount of words. Those are things that you can manipulate inside of each card in order to get the output that you need, right? And so the way that you would create the template version is you would upload it as a reference image, right? So if you've already got your template and you only wanted to use that template, in here, you're going to drag that right here, and you're going to be able to upload that image, right, as a reference image. But it's really important. The only way it's going to use that reference image as a template, you have to be super clear inside of here, like, please use the attached reference image as the template for my YouTube thumbnail. Do not veer or do not change the template or brand colors, yada, 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 right? So you just want to be very descriptive. And not only that, I'll teach you guys another trick. Oftentimes, you see, we come here, we have a section called style direction. So you can also throw that in there, but I think I would put it right here in the core instructions, okay? That way you're just extremely explicit about what you want it to do, right? And if you try it 2 or 3 times, you're not getting the result, just shoot me a message inside of our either community or inside of support. So you could just click on here, shoot a message, ask to talk to a human, and I'll take a look at your prompt and see if I can help with it as well. So here's an example. So you could see YouTube thumbnail, it's using real and bold text. Again, we have different styles. You can check them out, but here they are. So in this one, it's data centers in space, H100 test, 0 fresh water. Here you go. Here's another one, no water, all compute, orbital GPUs, continuous solar, low carbon. This one is 40 megawatts in orbit. Now, occasionally this might happen. Sometimes the text can get cut off. Maybe in the prompt, we could tweak it even more to make sure it has enough padding, just keeping that in mind. But if you have a template, it should follow it. So that's going to be key. And then here's last but not least. Now, what's cool, what we do with the prompts is that we not only come up with a thumbnail, but we prompt it specifically to come up with these titles and text hooks on top of the image so that it can get attention. So this is our YouTube thumbnail card. And again, there was a couple styles as you saw. You could do them in different colors and styles as well. Awesome. Can you specify fonts? Yes. So you can also specify fonts inside of here. What I recommend is try to mention 2 or 3 fonts that are similar to what you're going for. Or also if the font is already in the image, you can say, please use the exact font that's already being used in the image. You can make that as a reference as well. But yeah, in here you can type in specifically the fonts that you have, like, hey, make sure for the font you use a cursive, or use, you know, this typeface, which also looks like this and this typeface, right? Because the more that the AI has an understanding of the fonts, the better it will at trying to match that font for you. I'll do one more reminder. Go ahead and hit like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate that. Now, if you don't know, I am Sebastian Mourra. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Alphana. So if you need anything at all, I'm always happy to help. All you got to do is reach out to me. Please check it out. Give these a shot. I'd love to hear your feedback. I love you all. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.